Amazon book order, and I forgot to get Magnolia Park. So
do another one. All right, so we are now live. Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming. This is our live show for the Confused Queens Book Club for Belladonna by Adalyn Grace. And I think it's going to be a really fun, juicy little time. How do you guys feel about going into this live show?
Nervy.
I feel like I'm the one that should be nervous because both of you guys thought the same things. I feel like I might leave this live show and be like, oh my God, you guys changed my mind completely.
I feel like we're the minority, like not amongst the three of us, but like a lot of people did really like Belladonna. Like when I posted it on my Insta stories and stuff like that, so many people were like, oh my gosh, I love this book. And then I was like, oh no, like I did not like this book.
Well, I think at least from like when me and Tori were reading it and talking about it a little bit, I feel like even us, like I feel like I liked it a little bit more than she did. So I feel like
I will say, you listened to the audiobook, didn't you? Because I only listened to the audiobook. I didn't read it at all. And the audiobook narrator was fabulous. Like she was an amazing narrator.
Yeah, no, I listened to the audiobook, but I mean I still was just like
Okay. So since I wasn't part of that discussion of you guys just liking this book, what about it didn't you guys like?
We'll get into it.
Yeah. Like, that's too broad a question because I would be here for 30 million years. Okay, well then I guess to start it off then, we'll go a bit more general. What were your guys' ratings? And then like general overall thoughts.
Okay, you guys go first.
Tori,
I gave it 1 star. I would have DNF'd it if I could have after like the first 5 chapters. Those are my general thoughts.
I gave it a 1.5. So I did give it 0.5 more. The 0.5 was because there were elements that I did like about it, but like not enough for me to actually like enjoy the book. And then like by the second half, I was like the first half I was a little bit more like yes, no throughout. And then the second half I was like, please stop.
Well, I gave it like a 4-star review. Like I liked it. Like even like thinking back at it now, like I don't have like big complaints. Like did I think like she like did I think that the plot was like super original? No. No, I didn't. But for what it was like, what I thought it was gonna give, it gave. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It wasn't a favorite. I liked some of the plot twists and everything. And I really liked like the vibes, like the gothic vibes, and I liked the writing. And I definitely think that the audiobook narrator like did help a lot. I liked her so much. But yeah, like I don't have like big complaints on the book. So that's why I'm like curious to hear what you guys are like, this is horrible. But I will also say, like, since you guys both were reading it together, I feel like there's also like a chance that you guys were soundboarding off each other like negative vibes. And then that also contributed to like the negative feelings. But maybe comment back what you think.
Well, I don't know if it was necessarily like soundboarding because at the point that Tori was not liking it, I was still kind of liking it. Like, I was still like telling her like, oh no, well, like, oh my God, but this scene was so stunning. Like the prologue's stunning. I loved the prologue. Like was like, I literally read the prologue and I was like, oh my God, like this can be so good. And then like the prologue just is not the vibe of everything else. So, I mean, I don't think it was soundboarding because yeah, like there was parts where Tori was like, no, I didn't really care for that. And I was like, oh, like I didn't mind it. You know, like I think it's pretty juicy, you know, like that type of thing. But I don't know. Tori, what do you think?
I think it was tough because we had just read The Bridge Kingdom and like loved it. Like absolutely loved it. 5-star read, was obsessed with it. And that was a fantasy romance as well. And you know how when you read something that's like so good and then you go to a book that's a little bit more mediocre, you almost think that the mediocre book is even worse than what you would think. I think that there was a little bit of that in there.
Okay. So what did you guys think of let's like go into parts. What do you guys think of the plot of the book?
thought that the premise was actually good. Like, I was interested in it. That's why, like, too, I had such high expectations for this book because I had read All the Stars and Teeth. I knew her writing style. I was like, oh my gosh, this is stunning. And then this one was so, excuse me, different than All the Stars and Teeth, because All the Stars and Teeth was very much like a high fantasy type, not like intense, but it was like a high fantasy adventure romance. And this was so different. And so, like, I thought that the plot was creative, and I think that was like a disappointment for me.
Okay, so it didn't like it didn't give what needed to be given.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I think the premise, and like I think I put that like on Goodreads. Like, I was like 1.5, and the 0.5 is for like the concept and the premise, but like the execution, I think it was the execution that was the problem. Because like that, like I think the plot could have been really interesting, and I think, and like obviously we can talk more about characters and stuff later, but I think the characterizations were not good enough to drive the plot and make that plot more interesting and like a really strong plot. So like it just felt very like meh. And then there were just some like parts, like just the little subplots even about like her coming out to society and all of the little society friends and stuff like that. Like I didn't like that. So like for me, I was like, well, this is taking me out of this plot of her and death. And I don't know, it was just, it seemed very disjointed to me, the plot.
Yeah, I do agree with that society bit, like especially because it didn't really play out to anything. Like why was her friend Caroline or Caroline or whatever her name was like important when like, I don't know if she was like a red herring maybe, but I was also like, why would she be poisoning her family members? That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, no, I thought that too. I was literally like, I thought that was, honestly, I wish like Carolyn or whatever her name is, or any of the other people, I was like, I wish they were the killers. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, I wish like something would come out of it, because it just made it seem very out of place and very unnecessary. And I feel like there was like a good amount of those parts. Like, and I don't know if it was like to show like her, like Signa's like character development of like, she really wanted this in the beginning and then like by the end she doesn't. I feel like that was the purpose of it, but I feel like it wasn't done well enough that like it felt unnecessary, you know?
Well, that makes sense.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, Tori, go ahead.
I felt like that whole like coming out to society, like Regency era stuff made Signa seem a lot more immature, because like she's supposed to be 17, and the whole setup of the book is that like she has these like death powers, death kind of follows her around, she has no family, all this stuff. So finally she has family, and then she's like, oh my gosh, but I want to get married and find a husband. And I was like, where is this going from? Like, I'm so confused.
Yeah. I did get annoyed at the beginning by her, because she was like literally like, why are you chasing me? And he's like, why do people keep dying around you, huh? Like, that's not my problem.
Yeah, like it was just so weird, and I felt like her priorities were so off that it made her seem like way younger than 17. And that's why, that's like one of the reasons why I did not like the romance between her and Death, because it felt really gross to me, because like she was acting like a 13-year-old boy obsessed girl like throughout the story for me, and that's why it just gave me like big ick.
I feel like I understand that she has like had no interaction with people. That's like, I think why she was so immature, if that makes sense. But I would say like the weakest part about this book, and like what keeps it from being a 5 stars, like I thought that like the characterization was pretty weak, if that makes sense. Like, for example, Percy being the bad guy, Death. Like, I didn't think like anyone's character was like super set, and that was very frustrating to read. And then like when things ended up working out the way that they did, it was like okay, like it wasn't like a satisfying conclusion. And I think that like mystery is like hard to write, And maybe this is like Adalyn Grace's first time writing like this sort of like whodunit sort of mystery. But also, like, side note, there's so many other poisons in Belladonna that don't stain your and I was like, why only one poison? You know, like, why is belladonna, like, belladonna is not even that common. I don't know, maybe it is, but still, like,
that's a medicine, Nikki talking. I'm like, I would have no
I was
idea.
like, there's so many other poisons you could have used, and like you use like the one that like leaves your fingers blue, and like,
oh my gosh.
No, but I agree. Like, I think the characterizations were not strong at all, because like I think it makes it then that you don't really care about what happens to anybody. And like I think for me, like that was something too why I love a good whodunit, but like I felt like I didn't care who done it life. You know what I didn't care who done it, like, because I just did not care about Blythe like that. You know, like I was just kind of like,
yeah, and like Percy poisoning himself just so that he could get attention. Like, he was so weird. He was
weird behavior. And I think that's the thing overall with this book is like I don't think anything, like any one thing is like the worst thing ever. I think it's like everything was just very weak that it made it.
I will say
successful.
And like I think part of the reason I liked it is that I did like the romance between this girl and Death. And like I think that like these are like one of the more tasteful sex scenes that I've seen in a YA, where like it's not like completely like shutting the door and not telling you what's happening, or like they went into bed, but like it was like I thought it was tasteful. I definitely don't think that it's a YA though. Like it gave me have you guys read the series by Elise Kova, The Dance with the Fate Prince, or like the Married to Magic series that she has? It's like a standalone YA.
I read Air Awakens by Elise Kova.
Well, I don't remember in Air Awakens if they had these same sex scenes, but it gave me like vibes of like her second series that she made of like the standalone romance series.
Nikki, when you went like this, all I thought of was like in The Sims when they're like moving away and they put the covers.
Well, yeah, that's how some romance authors in YA like write their scenes. They're like, and then they went to bed.
Yeah.
They woke up naked.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually think, speaking of like the romance with Death and Signet, I think actually, Nikki, that was one of the things that I didn't like about how good of a narrator the narrator was, is that I think that actually made it seem more creepy to me too, that she made his voice very like deep and sultry. And like it honestly, I think because of like that raspiness and like stuff, like he sounded like ancient. You know what I mean? Like it was.
Yeah, I think I get it. I guess like
I feel like I actually didn't like that because I was like, that's ick.
How stupid was the Silas thing? Like the fact that like he wasn't actually there to anyone. Like she didn't even think to ask anyone. Like, yeah, a guy named Silas took me here, and then like everyone's like, well, what are you talking about?
Yeah, you sent your horse boy to come pick me up from my family's house. Like my aunt's house had just died. Like what?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he was like around so often that I was like, why would you not mention, like even just in passing, just be like, oh yeah, Silas, blah, 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 the stable boy. Like I don't know. It like that part was so weird too, because the second he was introduced, I was like, he's deaf. Like the second she was
like, didn't make any sense.
Stuffed enough. I was like, that's deaf.
It didn't make any sense. Like when he was like, he was the most beautiful boy I'd ever seen. He's here to stay. You know what I'm saying?
Every boy was the most beautiful boy she's ever seen, though, because then she
hasn't seen any boys.
Yeah, that's why I was like literally annoyed too, because I was like, what is every single like boy in this town just like?
Yeah, this is 18th century England.
I'm like,
I have small pox marks on their face.
Yeah. I'm like, I'm not buying it whatsoever.
What did you think of the ending of like how he was like, don't like go live your life without me? What do you think? I thought that I did not like that part. That's like
I didn't like it either.
I feel like I'm gonna change my rating after this conversation.
Yeah, Nikki, I want to know what your favorite things were that you were like, this is a 4-star read? Because even just now, like hearing you talk about it, you're kind of like, oh yeah, like this part like wasn't strong, whatever. Like
I feel like you sound like a 3-star.
Yeah, I feel like it was more like a 3-star. It's just that I was on a plane with nothing else to listen to.
Oh yeah.
So you're
plane books, that's a thing. Like I feel like when you're on a plane and you're reading a plane book, it's like so much more into it because you have no distractions.
Yeah, exactly. That was why. Like I think that is definitely like I think the setting really helped me like get into this book more.
Yeah,
and, like I had it on and I finished it in like the plane ride only. What was I gonna say though? So yeah, I think it might be more of a 3-star now that I start to think about it. I did not like the ending of like how he was like adios and then Fate comes. I did think that was interesting, especially because like Fate has her one eye is like Fate and then the other one is the brother. Obviously she's gonna end up with death, but like I was like, ooh, and that's why I want to pick up the next book because I was like, what is this gonna introduce?
Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of the ending either. It was one of those endings that like I feel like they meant for it to be like this emotional, like I'm gonna let you live your life, but I love you, like like this like emotional, like tragic goodbye type of thing. But once again, it just wasn't strong enough for me to like feel some type of way about it. And then it just made everything seem so pointless. And I was like,
I feel like it would have been more poignant, if that makes sense, if like Silas was actually a person or like she actually had like a human person that she was interested in, like battling her feelings for, even though like we're over love triangles. That's something that stays in the past. We do Amory now. But still.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like it didn't make any sense. Like, especially with how much she had changed and she was like, I don't want to get married anymore. Like he did everything possible so that she wouldn't want to feel like she has to get married. And then he was like,
it gave fuckboy to me. Like the whole book, he was like, she's like, get away from me, go away. And he's like, I literally wrote, death is very melodramatic for an ancient creature. And he acts like a fuckboy because the whole time he's like, if you want me to go, just tell me one more time and I'll go. Like that's
and he doesn't go.
At the end, he's like, I'm gonna leave, like whatever. And she's like, you literally made me get attached to you. Like you just introduced yourself to me.
Like you fucked me. Now you're leaving.
Yeah, like what? It just felt so weird.
It did. I feel like that like didn't make sense to me. I was like, none of this makes sense.
Yeah. Make it make sense.
Make it make sense. Now I'm like, do I even like this book? I did enjoy it. It was an enjoyable read. Was it the strongest read? It was like when I like recently I finished that like His Human Prisoner, which is like this dark alien romance. It was bad, but like I enjoyed it in the moment. And doesn't that count for something?
Yes.
I mean, it does. Because I was going to say, I feel like so much like of books is also just like how you're feeling in that moment and like what your mentality is like when you're reading it. Because I agree with Tori. I think because we had just finished Bridge Kingdom and we were like stunning 5-star obsessed, it made the not strong parts of this book like stand out even more, that maybe if we would have read this like in like after a different book, like we might have not hated it so much or like disliked it so much, you know what I mean? But also I don't know about that because I just was like, I didn't care.
See, this is why I'm excited for our next book, Magnolia Parks, because like I feel like I'm giving it a second chance and I think it has the potential for me to really like it.
Yeah, I'm excited for that one. I want to like love a book so much because I feel like every single live show we've had, it's been like good and then bad and then good and then bad. And then,
yeah.
I feel like it's just like, I don't know. I feel like we just need to find a hit for the masses.
I mean, Sarah and I really like The Depths.
That's true.
Yeah, The Depths is good.
Yeah.
The Depths is really good.
I just want us to find a book. And that's why I'm hoping Magnolia Parks is that for me. But I also don't want to have like my hopes up too high and then be like super disappointed. But like I want that to be that book for me. Because the only
thing I don't like is that it's super long.
Oh my God, is it?
Yeah, it's like literally this thick. Maybe not that many words, but it's thick. It's over there. Like it's really thick.
Oh my goodness. Hello, Linda. Thank you. I hope you're doing well as well. But
who are our favorite characters in Belladonna? That's a question that I wanted to get to.
I like Blythe a lot.
I loved Blythe, and Sarah was like, no.
Why didn't you like her?
I just thought she was just so bland to me, and I just didn't care about her. And you know what? One thing,
the only one with a personality.
We're gonna segue really quick into something that literally I think was probably like one of the things that I was like, fuck this book. Was literally when she didn't want Blythe to die, and so she bartered with death to kill an innocent 80-year-old man, so that Blythe can be saved. Because I was like, you're actually trash that you was literally like
playing God.
Poor, and like, yeah, like he was like, oh, he only had 10 years left. Okay, that's 10 more years with his family. I might be a little bit triggered because of my grandparents this year, but like, I'm like, how dare you do that? Like, that is just so horrible. And like, I'm like, is that supposed to make me like you? Or you know what I mean? Like, I was just like, that was such a unlikable thing.
It was a very selfish thing to do.
It was so selfish, and I did not like it.
I think it just plays to like how she was very immature.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I just, sorry, Tori, I know you're going to say something about it, but I just like, I feel like for me, I would have preferred, honestly, for Blythe to die. Because I'm like, how are you going to have a story where death is such a big character, but you don't actually talk about any themes of like death and grief and like I just think that was such a missed opportunity where like
she doesn't talk about grief. The only thing is when she talks about her grandma that died.
Yeah, but like that, like I think like something like that where it's like people die, you know, like everyone's gonna die. So it's like I think if Blythe would have ended up dying, like they could have explored this kind of other
I think they tried through the dad, like Elijah, and how like he like was very grief stricken.
Mm-hmm. That's true. I was actually gonna say my favorite character was Elijah.
I also liked Elijah. He sounded like he would be DTF, and I was also DTF. Lonely widower for what?
I'm so dead. But Sarah, like that, so you don't like Blythe because Signa chose to save her?
No, that just like reminded me of that situation.
Oh, okay.
No, that's not why I don't like her. No, honestly, I just like, to me, her and Percy, I was just like,
I did not see, like, maybe I'm blind, but I did not see Percy being the bad person. And I know that they like pointed out very like they read it to the reader. Like he cares too much about his like appearance. I thought that I thought that Silas was the son of like the king of like the manor of Elijah and this other girl, the Marjorie, and that like Silas was actually betraying her, but that was a red herring, and I should have seen past that. But I didn't see Percy. Percy's reasoning was just so weak. But he was a weak man, but like still.
Yeah. The best part of this book was when Percy fell on the Christmas tree, and I will stand by that. I was so entertained.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think the red herrings were done well because the same thing too, like when they were having that conversation of like, oh, like there's a secret love child and whatever. Like that was my first thought. I was like, oh, Silas. Like I was like, that's juicy, you know, but then it wasn't. But then also too, I just feel like, again, too, that big reveal, I was like, it's just nothing seemed exciting to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like it wasn't an exciting big reveal because it didn't feel like she was like that betrayed. Like anyway, she only had met these people like what? Like a month ago?
Yeah. No, exactly. Hello, Serena. Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry.
So Serena says, hey, I've been listening while traveling home from errands, and you're also right about everything. This book was so disjointed and had good parts, but it wasn't put together well.
That's it, Serena.
Yeah, I'm so happy that you agree. And also, thank you for listening while you're running errands. That's so nice.
But yeah, and thank you. You put it well. Like it was like it had its good parts, but like how it was put together, the best. Like
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's why I was so like, I had no idea how to feel about the book like until I finished it, because like the little like mystery investigation parts, like when they were at like the gentleman's club or whatever, and like they were like sneaking around there and like going through Elijah's desk and like all of that kind of like investigating stuff I liked, and I was like, oh, like that's fun, you know, like a fun little mystery, like let's try to find stuff out. And then it would be like interspersed with this like boring dress shopping and high tea that I was like, I don't give a shit about. And then, you know what I mean? Like it was just like not consistent, I feel.
Yeah, and what was I gonna say about I think that like I just don't think that Adalyn Grace might not have the skill yet to do such like an intricate, because she tried to make everyone a red herring. She made the uncle a red herring.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Marjorie a red herring. She made everyone a red herring. Blythe a red herring. Lorraine the red herring. Everyone was a red herring.
Yeah. I think this book would have been, like, for me, I think it would have been a lot better if Signa were more, like, intelligent. Like, if she kind of just, like, thought through what was happening around her, I think that would have been better. Also, if she were more of, like, a morally gray character of, like, yeah, death follows me around, like, my whole life, and everyone dies, so I just try not to get, like
a Wednesday Autumn?
Yeah, like, if she was a little bit more, like, disconnected, I thought that would have been more like fun. And then also, this was such a lost opportunity with the setting. Like, I loved the secret garden where there was a dead body and she had to try to find it and like travel through the woods. Like, no one else really knew where the garden was. And also like the house and how it was kind of like haunted, and the ghosts. Like, I thought that the ghosts were really well done. How like creepy they were, how like her tongue was cut out, like all that stuff. I was like, love that. But so if she made it more of like a secret garden type thing where it took more to find the garden, there's a little bit more of like the hauntings and stuff like that.
I wish that there were more ghosts. Like, I love the scenes with like the ghosts, like when they get really agitated, they like explode. Like, that was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
ghosts, people.
Yeah.
Yes, the garden was my favorite, but some of the world rules there tripped me up.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just think like that the good elements, like there wasn't enough of it. And then like that too, like it was really only in the beginning, like where they were like a lot of like the ghost kind of scenes and like all of that very like creepy when she's walking around the house and she feels
like the dead aunt.
What?
The dead aunt.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah, like all of that was like so much more in the beginning that like I feel like after the second half it just like totally switched gears, and then all of the stuff that I was enjoying in the beginning wasn't there anymore. And to Tori's point, I agree. I think the characterizations for me were like the number one miss in this book, because I do think, especially like if everything else stayed basically the exact same and Signa was just characterized differently, so her interactions and motivations were different, I think it would have been like a way better book. Like if that was even the only difference.
I just don't even know her motivations. Like, was it to have a family?
She had no motivations. Like it's just so strange. And then like
she just wants to belong somewhere. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's probably it. But because then even too, like the stuff with her mom, like that was a weird kind of like addition to it, where she thought her mom was like so prim and proper, so she wanted to be prim and proper, like, you know. And I was just like, what? Like, it just.
I did like how she like took that book and was like, oh yeah, this book is my Bible.
Yeah. I was like, why are we referencing this book the whole time?
And I didn't have like the hard copy, so you guys will have to tell me. But like, I was really hoping how it was inserted was like as if, you know how in Caraval they'll insert like the letters and like clues. Like, I was hoping it would be like that, but was it like that? I don't know. Like, or did she just quote it like verbatim, like on the dialogue? She
quoted it verbatim. It would be like a new paragraph, but it wasn't like in the Caraval series where you saw like the ripped piece of, you know, like the piece of paper.
Yeah, I thought it would have it like the book, like Article 1. How to be a lady.
Yeah.
I would have done it. Like, just...
Okay, Nikki, my last question for you is, did you ever read Addie LaRue?
No, I didn't. I do have it here. You know, like I am now really excited to pick it up though, because I feel like if I like this and this is like a knockoff Addie LaRue, I know you say it's not like Addie LaRue, but like knockoff Addie LaRue, I feel like I'll definitely like it.
Addie LaRue is so much better. Like if you're saying that you want better characterizations,
the thing with Addie LaRue,
out and well-rounded characters.
The reason I haven't read it though is because I just like I wanted to sit down and actually read it, versus like listening to it, and like I wanted to annotate it because everyone says that it's very beautifully written and everything like that. So like that's why I haven't done it yet. But now that I'm back home and I have more time, it's on my TBR, and I put it in my TBR jar, which I started a TBR jar.
I just like I don't see it as super similar outside of there's kind of this like death character. But besides that, I think that they're really quite different.
Mm-hmm.
That's just my opinion.
Serena agrees.
It's 1,000.
Have you read it, Sarah?
No, I actually really want to read it, but I'm the same as you. Like I think I need to just like choose a time and just do it because I've always been pushing it off. Yes, I've always been pushing it off because I want to do the same thing. Like I want to read it and like sit down and physically read and annotate and everything. And then all the time I'm just like, oh no, but let me get the audiobook for this. Let me get the audiobook for, so I want to wait. So probably in the new year.
I started it and the first page was beautifully written. Like even the first sentence, it's beautiful. Like I think it definitely has its merit. I know a lot of people criticize it because they're like, where the people of color in Addie LaRue? Because she like goes to like India, like she goes to a bunch of places and there's no like main characters of color.
Mm-hmm.
She travels the world, but she's mostly in France and New York.
I know, why would anyone do that? Like you can travel you can live anywhere you want and never die. Everyone forgets your name. You could stay wherever.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I feel like a slower paced book though. Like I think that a lot of people criticize Addie LaRue because they're like, oh my gosh, it's so boring. It's just a slow paced.
After reading Game of Thrones though, I think that definitely it'll feel like KU.
It'll feel so fast.
Yeah, for sure.
So fast paced.
This needs to slow down.
That is so funny. Yeah.
It's good though. Maybe you'd like it, Sarah. Like if you have it, pick it up and see if you like want to read it. The Game of Thrones book. But like I feel like you won't like it because it gives me like Mistborn vibes.
Yeah.
Also, a lot of like everyone, like what's gonna happen, especially if you watch the series and you're like, oh my god, they're all making the wrong choices.
Yeah. That's true. It might just stress me out. Honestly, I might just rewatch the show.
But it's also so disturbing. Sorry that we're talking about a book that's not our book club book.
Yeah, we're just like derailing. We don't want to talk about Belladonna anymore.
Dani's 13 years old when she gets married to Khal Drogo.
Yeah, that's crazy. I was gonna say I know I've seen stuff that like the Game of Thrones book is a little bit more like fucked up.
It's a lot more fucked up, I think,
than the show. So
it doesn't have as much sex and stuff, but like it's like fucked up in like that sense of like like Rob, for example, is 15 years old. Like
it's very odd, which is crazy because Rob in the show, beautiful man. Okay, back to Belladonna.
Yeah.
Okay, I do have one more question. I honestly don't even know what, like, when I wrote this question, I feel like I had an answer, and now I don't even know what my answer would be. But I wanted to know if you guys liked that it was like a third-person narration, or if you would have preferred it to be from Signa's actual, like, first-person point of view.
I like third person because it like fits the theme of like the genre, like an Austen novel or a Bronte novel where they were in third person. It like fits that gothic vibe. At least that's how I analyze it.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good point. That's a really good point. I would have never said that, but I totally agree. I would have preferred it if it was a first person POV, dual POV between Death and Signa.
Really?
That would have been juicy.
He's like watching her change, watching her grow up. watching her first steps.
At first, when I thought you said watching her change, I thought you meant like getting dressed.
I know,
That's exactly what I meant. That's exactly what I meant. The guy's dead. We can just watch her wherever she is.
No, that would have been so gross. Like even grosser than I already think that he is in this book. But no, like I think it would have been better if we knew that, we knew that Silas was deaf. But for those reading it who didn't know that Silas was deaf, I think that would have been like a fun, like POV, right? Like I'm pretending to be horse boy and like going to pick her up.
That's why you didn't like this book. There were horses.
Listen, okay. I'm not that. I don't hate horses. We're not friends.
We're not friends.
I mean, I think the third person, like, cause I felt like the whole time reading it, I was like, some of the stuff, like, and especially in the beginning that I really liked, because I also felt like there wasn't that much of it towards the end, but I liked that it kind of felt like a bit like a fairy tale, like it was written, or like I liked I don't even know how you describe it, but there were some parts where they would be like, oh, like, and Silas didn't know that moment, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? Like that kind of narration where it was like the narrator knows something and is like mentioning like, oh, but if she would have looked at Silas's face, she would have seen his concern, you know, like that kind of thing. I liked that part of it. But I think if it was first person, it would have really helped with the characterization. I think
you guys are first person girlies now.
I always go back and forth. I don't know which one I prefer in general.
I like either. Like I think of Priory of the Orange Tree, which was told in third person. Obsessed. Like I ate. I love
like that author has like a lot of skill.
Yes. Yeah. I feel like if you're not, I mean, this is going to sound mean, but I feel like if you're not as skilled of an author to like craft a story in third person, it makes more sense to use first person, because then, like Sarah said, you can get so much more personal, and it's almost like you don't have to do as much heavy lifting creating your characters, and your readers will feel more connected right off the bat because you're in their head.
Yeah, that's very true. That's good.
But I feel like, for example, like we were still in her head even though it was third person.
Yeah, but it wasn't done as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like we didn't feel as connected to her.
Yeah.
For my books right now in third person.
What?
Taking notes for my book, which is in third person.
Well, no, I mean, then that's why, like, I think third person is fine, but like, yeah, like the elements of her personality that we got, like, were literally just her wanting to go into society, and she loved her grandma. Like that was all it was giving. Like, and I was like,
Stars and Tides and Fate in first or second or third. Sorry,
third. Yeah. But that book is so, honestly, if you want to read Adalyn Grace, like this just needs to be my public service announcement. Read All the Stars and Teeth. It was so good. I think I gave it like 4 or 4.5 stars, and I read it so fast. Like the way that she told an adventure story, and I think like it really helped Adalyn Grace to have that, like, you know, those more adventurous stories where your main character is going on a journey, and then through that journey they offer like more self-discovery, and they have those opportunities to, I don't know, like just like develop more naturally. I think that really helped her, and like that was another reason, like I was just so disappointed by this book because it was so different than All the Stars and Teeth. Like those books were, that duology, 100% recommend. Belladonna, don't go near it with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's really I mean, obviously this is the first Adalyn Grace that I've ever read, but I think that's like a really interesting point, because I feel like then, to me, based off of what you just said, I feel like then maybe Adalyn Grace probably relies a lot on plot to drive her story and her characters. And I think, like how Nikki was saying earlier, like mysteries are really difficult to write, and they're difficult to write well. So I think with an adventure story, the plot in and of itself kind of gives you this path to take. Whereas a mystery is like a lot more intricate and complex, and you have to be able to like that put these red herrings, but also put enough clues that like if we were able to reread this, we could have seen, oh yeah, it was probably Percy. You know what I mean? Like you have to be very smart at it, that if she's someone who relies too much on the plot to like create her story and weave her story, then that's probably why this like wasn't that great.
I feel like we just got into some big brain analysis of this book.
I just couldn't figure out like how he was putting the belladonna in her tea and her food and tea and shit, and how like they didn't notice, you know, like because like remember she got poisoned again.
Yeah. Yes, please read All the Stars and Teeth. Tell me if you think it's better, because I think it's like worlds better. Yeah.
Or what was your final like rating of this book?
What was my final rating?
Oh, Serena's. I know yours.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, if you could have, I can just negative.
Belladonna may be an editor issue then. Yeah. I feel like that could definitely be a thing. It was just so all over the place, I feel.
But it's on Goodreads Choice Awards for the best young adult fantasy.
Yeah, I saw that and I was like, are you fucking kidding?
I saw it, and I saw the Goodreads Choice Awards, and I'm sorry again that we're going off on a tangent. I have not read any of them.
I actually haven't read that many of them either, but I was like, you know what? It's because Kindle Unlimited has taken over.
Y'all are telling me that you didn't read All My Rage by Sabaa Tahir. Like, I don't know that we can be friends anymore. That book is so good, and that is on the like that section of like YA fantasy, not fantasy.
It was on like the YA fantasy, and I didn't know
it was on YA fantasy. But regardless, like you need to vote for it. It was so good.
I love that. Okay, well, I'll have to add that to my TBR. But Serena gave this 3 stars, which 3 stars isn't bad, but
that's a good rating. That's like I think what I'm changing my rating to.
Yeah, I think it's very valid. Sorry we brought down your rating, Nikki.
No. I feel like objectively, you guys are right. I think it was just like, airplane.
Yeah, it was the vibes.
When like you are listening to a book on an airplane, and like, it just feels really nice.
Yeah, that happened to me with like Keeper of Souls or something like that.
You liked the book. I thought you liked it.
No, I loved it, and I read the first like 50% when I was on a plane, and I was like eating it up. Like I literally thought it was so good, and then I went back to it after I like wasn't traveling anymore, and I was like, what was I thinking?
What is Keeper of Souls?
It was like a samurai book, wasn't it?
No. I love that book. No. This was a romance, monster romance, smutty KU book.
Wait, was this the one with the guy that has like a skull head?
Yes.
So you didn't like that one? Because you even recommended it to me when we were talking.
It has some like interesting smut scenes, we'll say. He has a very interesting monster PP, but like it got really weird.
When you see interesting monster PP, you immediately think of Nikki.
The alien romance book that I was reading was definitely took me out of alien romance for a while. Like the guy had horns and he used his horns to impale her in her nether regions, and I was like,
you're like, sorry, it's not Keeper of, it's A Soul to Keep by Opal Rain. That's the book.
Tori, you're getting called out. Yeah, A Soul to Keep.
Oh yes, I remember when you were posting about it. So Serena finished reading The Last Legacy and loved it. I saw you give it 2 stars, and Saint is waiting for me in my mailbox right now. Can't wait to read it.
Pre-ordered Saint. It's supposed to come in for me next week. I did a big order recently of a bunch of Amazon books, and I think that they're just putting Saint in with my other books, which is low-key annoying because it's a pre-order and it got released on November 29th. So send it to me sooner.
What is Saint?
Saint is all these books are by Adrienne Young. So The Last Legacy.
Yeah. You love Adrienne Young. That's
so there's Fable and Namesake, which I absolutely loved. Gave 5 stars to both of them. Saint is her dad, and so it's kind of Saint is a prequel to Fable and Namesake. Ooh. And you get a little bit more of her parents' stories.
Juicy.
Yeah, but I gave The Last Legacy 2 stars. I listened to it on audiobook, and I think that hurt the book for me instead of like helped. I think if I read it physically, I would have given it a higher rating because I love Adrian Young's writing. It's just those characters, I didn't love them as much as I loved the characters that were in like Fable and Namesake. Even though there are overlapping characters, like just the story as a whole, I wasn't super like obsessed with it.
Yeah, I've never read anything by Adrian Young. Like I know that Fable series is like really popular, but I don't know why.
Another
like,
one that was really recently like really popular too. Like I saw another.
Oh, Spells for Forgetting. That one's very different than her other books. I have to read that one. I haven't read that one yet.
That one I've seen everywhere. Spells for Forgetting.
Yeah, that one's more of like a mystery book, I think. Whereas these other ones are like YA fantasy.
We have to see if the YA fantasy authors gives us the mysteries that we want.
I know.
Am I like I think also I definitely think that you guys read a lot more thriller mystery than I do. So I feel like you guys probably have like better refined taste than I do when it comes to mystery and thriller. I would like you guys are more used to like the tropes and like the red herrings, like versus me where I'm like, I'm in here for a good time. I have to read the book.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that could have made, and I think that's why like the depths, I really liked it because of that too. Like,
oh, I love that.
Because I don't read that much mystery, thriller, horror. So like when I do read it and I end up liking it because I do like, I don't think I've ever read one that I don't like. So I don't know why I don't read it more often.
Yeah.
I think it's because I'm kind of smut. But
no, I agree. I feel like I read a good amount of like mysteries and thrillers and stuff like that I feel like I'm now a little bit, I'm not like super picky, but I think I'm a little bit more picky, or like I'm like that
you can like see through things like so much more quickly when you read a lot of like thriller mysteries because you're kind of like used to how it's crafted, I think,
and like different tropes and stuff like that, and like, oh yeah, seen that before, you know what I mean, like that type of thing. I definitely agree.
Oh yeah. Well, will you be picking up book 2? I know I will.
I definitely will not.
Absolutely not. You couldn't.
If I'm being completely honest, the last 100 pages, I think I skimmed.
Oh no.
Like I and then when I was listening to the audiobooks, then I started like cleaning and stuff, and I was like, I just want to finish this. I had the audio, like I am a 1.7 to 1.9 times speed girly. I was listening to it at 2.5.
I can listen. Yeah, no, that's when you know you want to just finish a book.
Yeah. Oh, look, Serena, no.
Oh no, Serena, no. I guess I'll be reading it by myself.
Well, you'll have to let us know what the tea is and like
who's Fate? I thought that Fate was gonna be paired up with Blythe.
I was gonna say, did he come out in the epilogue? Because I also skipped the epilogue.
Yes, he comes out in the epilogue. And he's his brother. He's Death's brother.
Oh, that's kind of juicy. But yeah, I literally did not read the epilogue.
I like that Fate is a person. I think that's interesting.
Well, it's like Death is a person too.
Yeah.
Death is like a shadowy like
we're gonna get like you remember when you were like, oh, like there was no consequences to her actions. Like we're gonna get the consequences now. That's why he comes out in the epilogue.
Yeah.
Because she's tempted Fate too many times.
You know what? That's actually kind of juicy. Honestly, I was just
and like I read like the
Sarah's like, I'm gonna pick up the book.
And it's like Blythe and her have to work together to like solve this thing with Death, with Fate, because like Elijah gets accused of poisoning his new business partner.
Oh, ooh, okay. You know what? Maybe I will listen to that because that sounds juicy.
It's like I don't know. It sounds juicy to me. So
like, you're selling everyone on this. Serena too is like, I will check it out of my library.
Tori's like, I will not be deceived.
I know.
Yeah, I'm like, tell me how it is.
I was gonna say, you know what, Nikki? Why don't you read it first?
It comes out like late 2023, so like
then by the time it's coming out, I'm not gonna want to read it. But yeah, because I think like I really did not like the romance scenes because I also I didn't even skim it. I completely skipped their sex scene. Like I just
Really?
I fucking hated it. I was like,
I liked it. Why did you like
I also thought that it was super, like he gave me Predator vibes.
Oh yeah.
So I didn't love that, and I was just like, this is gross.
I disassociated that.
Yeah, I was just like, no. So I like completely skipped that. So like the romance parts of it, like I fucking hated.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I think it was probably like I'm someone that like, even though like I know it's wrong, like deep down when I was that age, when I was the target audience age, I was like, I just want an immortal to come and take me out.
Like, and that's why I think it was just the way that it was written and like how he visited her when she was a baby and stuff like that. But because I'm team Twilight. Like I'm like, yeah, like people are like, or even with Agatar, people are like, oh, that's so weird. Like he's like thousands of years old and Pharaoh was like 19. I'm not one of those people that thinks that's weird. I'm like, shut up. She's a consenting adult. It's you know what I mean? But like with that, I think it was just because it was talked about so much that like he
was
around when she was growing up. And then when he kept saying like, oh, I've been waiting for you, I've been waiting for this, like that is what creeped me out. Like I think
but that gives like Jacob and Renesmee, not like Twilight, Bella.
No, yeah, Jacob and
literally just like imprinting on a baby.
And no, that's basically what he fucking did. He basically fucking imprinted on her. So basically, death is Jacob Black.
Yeah,
but yeah,
imprinted on my baby.
But yeah, so I think if there's too much like gross, creepy, weird romance in the second book, I won't pick it up because I really did not like that.
I'll let you know. I'll read it and report back. I'll probably get the audiobook because I did like the audiobook. And I'm going to see if the same person narrates her first series. Because I know like some authors like to stay with the same audiobook narrators.
Yeah.
Like RJ Maas, the ones that narrated Crescent City, narrated Throne of Glass, which I know you did not like either. Sarah.
I just
that's it, right? The whole thing.
Yeah. I was on board until halfway through my tandem read, and then I was just like, I still have essentially a whole another 500-page book to get through.
You pick it up like I did. I picked it up again.
I will not be doing that. I just did not care.
Okay.
Not a fan. All right. Do you guys have anything else you guys want to touch on before we end this?
No. Hopefully that Magnolia Parks is better.
Yes. If you guys did not know, Magnolia Parks is our December book pick. We do not have a live show set yet for January, but we will obviously let you guys know once we have a date on our Discord and on our Bookstagram for our book club, which I don't know if I have it in the description yet, but if I don't, I will put it after this live. But yeah, Serena, we're gonna be
it's good.
It's a good one. But yeah, thank you guys.
I want a book that we all love.
Yes, that's what I'm hoping to manifest for Magnolia Parks. I know Nikki didn't love it when she read it the first time around, but maybe this time it'll be different. Maybe she'll have a better experience with it. But thank you for coming, Linda.
Thank you guys.
Thank you guys for joining, and we'll just talk to you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.